We're live on the radio with our pal Denny McLain. Of course, Denny McLain and the Tigers Report, brought to you by In Play Magazine. Good morning, Denny.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Very good. Yourself?
Well, fair to middling. I'm getting ready to go to the great city of Boston today to make sure everybody's fine and disciplined and everything. So
Yeah.
I'll let you know next week how many beans I had, and there'll be a measure.
Beautiful. Well, listen, at least you're not a member of the Tigers right now, because, you know, they must be walking around with their heads down a little low after getting smoked by Kansas. Kansas taking care of business like they haven't done with anybody else.
That's right. There's one thing about the great game. You never know, but, listen, come on. The truth of the matter, it's the worst division in baseball, maybe one of the worst divisions we've seen in the last 30 or 40 years. And Minnesota and Chicago, God, they can't beat themselves. They have an inter-squad game between those two teams, and they're not playing each other. They're just playing their own guys. They'd wind up in a tie, both of them. I mean, it's horrible baseball, what's happened over in Chicago. In Minnesota, even worse, although they had some early season injuries. But, you know, it's at this point in time, all Jimmy's got to do is sit there and make a lineup up and hope that everybody starts to get their act back a little bit together, because it's a no-brainer from this point. They're going to win the division. There's no question about it. And, you know, listen, we've talked about this before. The relief pitching on this club is suspect at best. And we've always known that. This is no surprise. And of course, then there's the old rule when the ace is supposed to step up and win one when the score is 0-0, win 1-0. And that just hasn't happened for this club. But the bottom line is, worst division. Their pitching has been much better than anybody else, I think, in baseball. And one other thing, I believe, to be honest with you, if they catch a little lightning in a bottle, and no one wants to hear this out of me at this point, but if they catch a little lightning in a bottle, they could well be in the World Series again, because you put those first three guys up there, you've got a real shot at doing something sensational. But those three guys, one or two of them are going to have to throw a shutout to do that.
Yeah, I read somewhere a couple of days ago that Minnesota has to go something like 17-6, and the Tigers have to go 500 for them to tie. But you know what? The way they looked in Kansas City, whether you're playing the Royals or not, they did not look very good at all.
No, they didn't. Defensively, they ran the bases badly. I mean, it's just one of those things. Also, you know what? It could be the players think they may have won it already. There was a great race, and there isn't probably anybody alive that's going to remember this race in the early 60s. The Philadelphia Phillies, with 8 games to go, I think it was. You guys can look this up later to make me out to be that I really don't know my history. But with either 7 or 8 games to go, and they had a 6 or 7 game lead and wound up in a playoff at the end of the season. So anything can happen, because they were playing the team that was in second place all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, that could happen with Minnesota. I don't think it can happen with the White Sox, because I just don't believe that they got their head in the right place. But, you never know. But on the other hand, I just think it's a lock. I mean, the pitching is way too good for it to suffer this badly, and they just got to hit a little bit. Mags is hitting the ball again, guys. He's been hitting the ball now for the last month, and we're getting some surprises. I mean, look at last weekend. Ian hits a grand slam home run out of his shoes. I mean, who knows? I mean, this club has been full of electricity, and now we'll see what happens from here. But you know what? It's after you have this wake up, this slap in the face, maybe they'll tighten up their shoes again and start playing at least defensively. Because if they don't play defensively well, I don't care who they play in the first round of the playoffs, they will not see the second round unless they buy tickets.
I wanted to talk to you about something else, too. Earlier this week, I just sat down. I think the Tigers were off, or they had played in the afternoon, so I had a free night and nothing to do. So I threw in a DVD of highlights from the 45, the 68, and the 84 World Series. And it was the first time I've ever seen you pitch. I've read about Denny McLain. I know Denny McLain, last player probably in the history of baseball that'll ever win 30 games. But I had an opportunity to watch a couple of highlights of games that you pitched when you were pitching against Bob Gibson in Game 1 of the World Series. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
I don't like to watch that particular DVD because I got beat, I think, 3-0 that day, and it was very unkind of Mr. Gibson to strike out everybody. And but I will tell you this, that the greatest thrill of my life was winning the pennant that year. The night we won the pennant, the city went nuts. The second biggest thrill we had, of course, the day we won the World Series. But to be in the World Series, the first game against Gibson, especially after all the notoriety that he had received, we had received, it was some kind of moment. And you know what? It's like somebody pointed out to me last year, well, you lost 3 games in the World Series. Well, first of all, we had a chance to play in 3. That was a good thing. We won 1. And, of course, the first game is when he struck out 17 guys. But it's like somebody said, well, hell, you pitched 6 innings in today's modern era. That's a quality start. So, but, you know, the measurement and everything else was a little bit different back then. But Gibson was just awesome, as a matter of fact. And Norm Cash, when he was up the first time, you know, before I hit in the second or third inning, Cash had come back to the dugout, and he says, well, there's a little problem out there. There's people sitting in the middle of the seats out there. He said, a little tough to see him. He says, but the first 2 pitches, I swear to you, I didn't see the ball. I heard it. So when I come up, you know, Norman was the class clown, right? I mean, he was the guy with all the one-liners. He was the guy that kept everybody loose. Well, hell, when I got up there and I don't see the first pitch, I almost went wee-wee in my pants because if they hit me with this ball, I'm dead, and I'm going to wind up in Kansas City.
And nobody wants that. Denny
Nobody
McLain
wants
joins
me
us
in
this
Kansas
morning.
City. It's too damn hot.
That's right.
It was
Denny
a pleasure
McLain.
watching you, Denny.
Listen, Denny, it's a real pleasure having you on, as always. We're actually in one of our listeners' homes this morning for the next while.
Really?
We're taking the show on the road, and I know there's big fans here in the house listening to this right now. They're all big fans of Denny McLain, big fans of what you do and what you did with the Tigers, and we love having you on the radio show.
Thank you very much. By the way, folks, before we go, folks, Sunday starts a new era for the. Did I really say that? Starts a new era for the Lions. I picked them to win 4 games this year, 4 upsets. That Jason comes in because anytime they win a game, it is an upset.
Yeah, that's true.
Jason will come in 4 times this year, kick a last-moment field goal, and they'll win 4 games. But I'm going to tell you this: anybody see anything changed? It's awful.
It's just a terrible team.
Look, if they win 4 quarters, it'll be a miracle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is just brutal. Why they don't do what they're supposed to do, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of organizations in a lot of sports, Denny, where you look at the management and the decisions they make, and you just shake your head. All right, Denny, have a great time in Boston. We look forward to having you on next week on the Tigers Report. You're welcome.
You guys have a great weekend, guys.